Hello, it is Topical Tuesday, October 1st, 2024. Steve Cypress here, wearing one of my many New York Mets shirts in honor, speaking of Topical Tuesday, of the baseball playoffs starting today. And the New York Mets, in typical fashion, fell behind early, but they came back to win decisively in their Game 1 of their playoff series versus the Milwaukee Brewers. Game 2 scheduled for tomorrow, also in Milwaukee. Lots of things going on in the news. On a sad note, I have to send my prayers and thoughts out to everybody, friends, family, and those people directly affected by the amazing damage. Nobody could have foreseen this damage from this hurricane that hit this American Southeast for massive flooding for a couple of days and caused all kinds of damage. Entire towns leveled. Video footage is amazing. Now, thankfully, everyone I've heard of personally that I know in that area is okay. Whole bunch of flooding, bunch of damage, but people physically okay, but lots of people are not. And so that is certainly a sad news item. Another sad news item is yesterday the death of Pete Rose, one of the all-time great athletes, one of the all-time great baseball players here in the United States, a hero to many because of the way he played the game. This guy hustled all out, gave 100% his best on every single play. I watched a fantastic 4-part documentary on HBO about a month ago on Pete Rose, so I'm pretty sure it's still available somewhere. And he talked about that came from his father because he played locally for the local Cincinnati Reds where he grew up, with his father drilling it into him, basically, don't embarrass me, play all out on every single play. And Pete Rose, one of his nicknames, Charlie Hustle. He just became known as hustling all the time, diving into bases, bowling over players. Technically, I shouldn't. He shouldn't be one of my all-time favorites because he very famously got into a fist fight with one of my beloved New York Mets, Bud Harrelson at shortstop for the New York Mets. Pete Rose came in kind of rough, and they tussled, and the benches cleared and all that kind of stuff. Pete Rose, one of the hard-nosed 100% players, and I saw an interview with him that will live with me forever. And I think it's something I heard from him a long, long time ago. He just said, you play the game to win. That's why you play the game. Losing sucks. You play to win. And this was why, I remember it now, the interview asked him what accomplishment was he most proud of over his career, because this guy set all kinds of records. He has the most hits of any Major League Baseball player of all time. He made like 17 All-Star teams. He was the most valuable player. At one time, he was the highest paid player in baseball. He won like 3 most valuable player awards. He was a player. He was a manager, very famously. Got in trouble betting on games as a manager and got the permanent ban out of baseball. But that never stopped him from trying to get reinstated, from being a role model to kids, focusing on baseball, always being around baseball as much as they let him, signing lots of autographs and baseballs. And he just was obsessed, as somebody put a comment on one of my Facebook posts, I think yesterday. He was obsessed. He was consumed by baseball. He was pretty much Mr. Baseball. And yet, with all the accomplishments and all the records, this interview asked him, what are you most proud of achieving? Even led him to the answer by going was it the World Series titles or the MVP or the all-time hits record? He goes, it was none of that. I'll tell you the record it is. I won the teams I played on won 1,762 games. It was something like that. 1,000, or maybe, I think it was 1,972 games. Teams I played on won 1,972 games. That's the most by anybody. I think he said the next nearest person was like 200 less. Carl Yastrzemski played his whole career with the Boston Red Sox. Also a top player from the 60s and 70s. And Pete Rose then put it in perspective. He said, imagine that you played for 19 years and your team won 100 games a year. And I think he then said, which nobody did this year. So maybe the interview was like a year ago. Or maybe it was this year. I haven't paid attention to the actual numbers of all the team records. But it's a rare feat to win 100 games. And he said, yeah, if you played for 19 straight years and won 100 games a year, you'd still be 70 games behind my record. A record that is likely never to be broken. But that really defined what Pete Rose was all about. He was focused on winning, on his team winning, which, I mean, that's how I grew up, and that's how I still am today when I play in any sport, any team sport or activity. And I play a lot of senior softball these days, 3-4 times a week, depending on the season. And yeah, I've always I don't care if I make an error and if I don't get a lot of hits. It's tough to get no hits in a game in slow pitch softball, but let's just say I don't hit real well, I don't feel real well. If my team won, it's fantastic. Now, of course, any of that negative stuff happens and my team lost, I'm completely miserable. But I am always about what's best for the team. I always want to win. Pete Rose embodied that. He was all about winning. I'm sure he instilled that in everyone he mentored, everyone he came in touch with, everyone he coached or managed. Like, you play the game to win. That's a number one legacy I get from the great Pete Rose, who passed away yesterday before he could ever be reinstated into baseball, where he would be immediately elected into the Hall of Fame as one of the greatest players ever. And I guess it ended up, now technically it was and will forever be, a lifetime ban for baseball when he signed that document back in wherever, the 90s, I think, with Bart Giamatti, that he agreed because he gambled while he was a manager. I don't even think back then he hadn't yet admitted that he bet on baseball. But because of that gambling as a manager, he signed the agreement agreeing to the lifetime ban, and thanks to him passing away yesterday, it was indeed a lifetime ban. What a shame. One of the greatest ever ball players not enshrined in the Hall of Fame. And you know there's all kinds of creeps in the Hall of Fames and all the different sports who did all kinds of things, beat their wives and this and that and all kinds of crimes and this and whatever. And like Pete Rose, loved baseball every day of his life, embodied what baseball, what sports, what life is all about, is giving 100% every second at all times, especially when you play on a team. That's what you do. That's the legacy I take from Pete Rose, and I'll live with that to the rest of my life, however much longer that will be. So that's it for Topical Tuesday, October 4th, 2024. Thanks for being here today or watching on the replay. I'll be back with you again tomorrow with some tips on making money via the internet on World Wide Web Wednesday. Over and out. Bye-bye.